Are you ready? Yeah! Cool!
Today we're going to be ranking every tactic in a tier list for the hit 2016 DICE game Battlefield 1. Some tactics are good, stupendous perhaps, some are bad, and some are real tactics used by the militaries of the era. Trust me, in real life, the Ottomans did use a crosshair glitch on horseback to rapidly counter incoming British assaults for the oil wells of Kuwait and Egypt. For a game that is gushed about by practically every Battlefield YouTuber starving for content, it's alright, and definitely proves that after a few hours of playtime, it is also, indeed, very silly. After those brief messages, let's start off with the worst strategy in Battlefield 1. Mortars. There are three different pillars in society: 9-to-5 workers at the top, Factorio players in the middle, and YouTubers at the bottom. However, there is one unspeakable tier at the bottom that if you mention, they will come after you. And that unspeakable tier is just titled Mortar Users. Mortars are the most boring strategy in the entire world. They effectively act like a device to make sure that your brain's dopamine receptors are still functioning, because even if you hit an enemy for 16 damage, you will act happier than on your wedding day. F tier, complete and utter dumpster fire. Next on the list we have the artillery truck, a truly brain-dead tactic for truly brain-dead people. Now, just to reiterate before you instantly post below saying that you're unsubscribing to this child of dubious intellectual integrity, let me say that the hilltop campers are the people that I'm really going for, and I don't care about regular artillery truck users. These are the people that willingly sit at the back of the map for 40 minutes shelling random positions with the occasional harassment from planes and enemy assault classes grenades of the most plentiful and unrelenting destruction. It's bad and requires very little spatial awareness or skill. F tier.
The terror.
The long-range sniper proves that hell does indeed exist. In Battlefield 1, sniping is incredibly fulfilling and fun, so why actively make the experience worse in a game that represents World War I so well? i.e. staying alive for more than 20 seconds is classified as an achievement. Just boring, and go boot up Escape from Tarkov and get shot up by several continents away instead. F tier.
Of my life.
For another item that requires very little human input to perform, much like the mortar, we have grenade spamming. An assault class in Battlefield 1 has access to 4 grenades, and on maps like Fort de Vaux, with half of the entire lobby picking the assault class as it caters to close quarters combat not unfairly, it's actually grenade spamming until one side bayonet charges. F tier, complete and utter dumpster fire. The flare flash. Flares are pretty good as they allow you to spot enemies. A flare flash still does this, but this time, if you stand near it, it's bright. It serves almost no use case unless you're in a close quarters map. And anyways, why would you be a scout in a close quarters map? It's bad and yet again takes up a slot that could be used for almost anything else. F tier. The Livens projector is a truly terrible weapon. The premise is that you rain down gas shells on the enemy, but it's completely unsteerable, so the enemies have to be in the specific places of where the canisters actually land to do any damage. Also, people can just put on a gas mask and it suddenly does no damage at all. I think the only reason it's in the game is so that the devs could have some pretty spicy wind in the trailers for the Apocalypse DLC. Bad.
I'm just chilling in Cedar Rapids.
Welcome to D tier, where the tactics are still complete garbage, but we're getting there. First, we have the AA rocket gun, or the anti-air rocket gun. It's good against the giant death blimps in the sky if the other team is losing, but not much else. It's less powerful against tanks than the other rocket gun for obvious reasons, as this is an AA rocket gun, and it's not a lock-on because, just to remind you, this is not 2020, but in fact, World War I. It is also, quite understandably, incredibly hard to hit a fast-moving aerial vehicle. This doesn't count because it's a bomber, but it can be done. D tier. Rifle grenades are an attachment to a gun where you shoot grenades at a ranged capacity instead of just throwing it and hoping it lands at someone's feet. They're kinda shit at actually doing any damage, however, they are definitely cool as a concept and 100% underutilized. You can get quite a few kills with these things, and come on, these things are cool. You can bounce them off walls to ricochet the grenade, to kill the enemy, and the sound is very interesting. Good notification sound, I recommend. A first for the video, a stationary weapon. Well, sort of. The one we're going to be talking about is the Coastal Gun. The Coastal Gun is kind of garbage. It's only usable on 2 different maps, Cape Helles and Albion. Its turning radius is awful, and yes, it is in the name, but you can only target things on the coast and out to sea. I mean, you get what you pay for, but it's only really viable for killing dreadnoughts on Cape Helles and giving the MG-42 treatment to incoming British amphibious landings in Gallipoli. It's quite hard to keep these things alive as they die to a butterfly perching on the cannon, but a wonderful tool to get over that is the repair tool that repairs things. Wow. D-tier, not anything special, but can be useful for getting rid of the dreadnought. Another one we're going to be talking about is the sidecar. The sidecar is a silly little buggy which you can use to tear across the deserts, grasslands and snowscapes of the various maps. 1 seat for the driver, 1 seat for the warrior on the side. It dies to small arms fire and is super exposed. However, it can be incredibly fun to capture objectives or drive from point A to point B, running people over. D tier. C tier, where the tactics actually start to become somewhat enjoyable and fun. These are legitimate strategies that might just help you to, win? Truly never thought about in the Great War. First off, we have the machine gun. It's collectively okay. There are 2 types, the unarmored one, where you are guaranteed to get sniped in the head by an SMLE Mark III marksman a few seconds after killing someone, just like real life.
La guerre se terminera à 11h.
Oh, c'est pas sérieux.
Il y aura de la soupe. De la soupe chaude.
And the armoured one, which still allows you to get killed, but restricts vision, so it's just even worse. C tier. Dynamite. It's alright. It pretty much acts like the C4 of the dawn of modern combat. You can run up to tanks and place dynamite on them. It's just a more inefficient version of a limpet charge. What's even better is placing them on a choke point and staying in the corner of a room, waiting for someone to come over and then detonating it as soon as you see a moving pixel. Guaranteed to make someone mad and gets you a certain kill. C tier.
Haubitzen.
Behemoth destructions are not a tactic, but have a similar effect to revolutions of Battlefield 4 and the other one.
Silencio, por favor.
In World War I, you didn't have skyscrapers or massive radio masts, so implementing large-scale destruction must have been quite a challenge for the devs. I think that they did it just right though by implementing behemoths, and the destruction sequence for all of them is incredibly pretty to look at. The sound design of everything falling apart is amazing. Nice. Another nice touch to the airship is that the destroyed carcass will have an effect on the map and how it is played after the destruction of it, which I find very cool for a game that is nearly 7 years old at this point. C tier, very nice. Sentries and flamethrowers. They're both incredibly mid. They're part of the elite classes and objectively the worst ones out of the pack. The Sentry MG-0815 has heavy armor like some sort of 12th century English Plantagenet warrior with a slow firing machine gun. Its time to kill is bad and is no match for the other variant of the Sentry, the Villa Perosa. The Flame Trooper seems cool but is killed quite easily and doesn't have any long range capabilities. The Forced Gas Mask also limits visibility, which is an issue with both elite classes. C tier, can be fun at times, but there are better options. Medic is one of the classes in Battlefield 1. Nope, there is no Zoomer Battle Pass Fortnite cringe fest known as the Specialist here. Ugh. The Medic is probably the most boring out of all of the classes, as they have quite bad weapons apart from the Fedorov or Avtomat and the Sweeper. You can give some medic supplies to teammates and get some points and revive with a syringe. Yep, you can revive people with a syringe. Truly the pinnacle of an immersive World War I game. Medics are overall okay. Nothing special, but they do legitimately help the team if they're good. I hate every medic that sits right next to you shooting an enemy whilst you need reviving only to be killed 2 seconds later by a grenade before he revives you. Or they just run away like cowards and don't keep the push alive, resulting in losing the round because we spent 500 soldiers on capturing B on Monte Grappa only to lose after finally capturing it. C tier. Armoured cars are alright and effectively just sidecars with more health that are more stable on the ground and that can carry more people and have the capacity for a mounted MG. They are just a better point A to point B vehicle. Nothing bad about them, to be honest, just boring. Landships are a mixed bag. They're absolutely deadly if piloted by the right people. If you have an elite landship crew, they can decimate the entire enemy team with ease. But if you have a relatively inexperienced crew, or even worse, no crew at all but just a driver and maybe a gunner, they can be very easy to take out. They're good, and they have a nice cannon from anywhere between 2 to 4 MGs with a driver mortar depending on the vehicle loadout. C tier, you have to really know what you're doing to drive the landship well. Tripwire bombs are just World War I claymores. Boring and half the time don't do anything. But if you put it in a choke point with a decent camouflage or get it in a dark corner of a room, you'll get a kill. C tier, they're okay.
I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream.
Gentlemen, we have arrived at B tier, and to start off with B tier, we have a truly insane strategy, one that makes people want to uninstall the game and dislike everything to do with Battlefield ever again. One that is guaranteed to make people angry. Bayonet charges, probably the most humiliating thing to be killed by on this list, and very funny. You can hear it from several light years away, and it's incredibly easy to miss completely. Also, you make people very angry by doing it. Spotting. Now, I do know that it is a basic mechanic of a Battlefield game, but seriously, people don't do it enough. The amount of times that someone will be dominating the scoreboard in a plane or a tank, but the children that have only just installed the game won't know how to press Q on their keyboard because they're 10 seconds out the womb. If you can see it, you can spot it. A basic function that people just simply don't do enough. For the love of God, it doesn't even take that much brain input to do, and sometimes you can even get something out of it. Wow. B tier. Have you ever wanted to feel like a happy 18-year-old German boy with his mates in the fields of northern France?
A soy beverage is a liquid legume.
Well, in this game, instead of having wildly unrealistic guns like the Hellriegel and the one with 2 vertical clips, you can now use boring bolt-action rifles with iron sights. Now, of course, no one in their right mind would choose to do this except a 15-year-old LARPer, but hey, you're probably them anyways. Historical. The disease, rats, sanitary conditions, and overbearing glory-headed officers aren't there, but close enough, to be honest. To be a historical, true LARPer, you must use weapons like the Goer 98, Lee Enfield, Mosin Nagant, or the Lebel 1886. Most historical weapons were just bolt-action rifles and shotguns, so just use a shotgun or a bolt-action rifle and you'll be fine. Now, this game was released 7 years ago at the time of recording this, so there were unironically YouTube songs about this game when it came out. Absolute great songs, by the way. One of them is about a guy who has a mace. This is an incredibly fun strategy, and I'll show a compilation of me killing people with a mace.
But not from the land, I got better things planned. Have you ever noticed this giant blimp in my hand? I got a mace, I'm gonna miss you and your stupid new face. But not from the floor, cause that would be poor. And I've got a blimp key, guess what it's for? Jumping up my blimp with my mace in my hand. Gonna mace you in the face, that's what I've got planned. I got a blimp cause I've got class.
I mean, it's no different to, Melee. It's just very cool to just bonk people on the head. Very good, a solid B tier. Long-range LMGs. Bipods are incredibly overpowered in this game, as automatic weapons in Battlefield 1 have random bullet deviation. Putting a bipod immediately gets rid of it. Very balanced. Also, bipods and scopes together basically mean that it has no spread and significantly reduces random bullet deviation. A good way of using LMGs and the support class, instead of actually helping the team with ammo packs, which no one seems to give anymore. B tier. Running into enemy lines. Now, this game doesn't have a front line mechanic, usually just being glorified version of Conquest, or literally just Conquest, but still, running into a squad or two of the enemy team and gunning down a few before instantly getting shot is quite fun, but not very useful as it isn't very effective, usually resulting in an unavoidable death. B tier. Torpedo boat. Shoot torpedo at behemoth or beach. Get sniped or blown out the water by plane or behemoth. B tier. Armored train. Funny behemoth on rails that has multiple cannons on it. It also has MG guns, AA guns, big cannons and artillery. You can also run people over, which is even better. Very nice behemoth that is powerful and can certainly help the team, but makes a funny sound every few seconds. Hardcore. Yep. The game mode. What hardcore does is remove the HUD so you can't see anything or spot anything. So yeah, you have no reticle, so you're just aiming hopelessly to try and get a kill. And it also removes regenerating health and turns on team killing. It makes the time to kill faster, so people can just insta-kill you if you have an SMG08 or something similar. It's okay. It can be quite fun killing your own teammates by accident, but it's also very annoying when it happens to you. Apparently, some people consider the time to kill too slow in Battlefield 1, so yeah, that's an interesting take. Also, this is a complete magnet for arguing constantly, and it's just amazing. I love arguing about a niche Battlefield game that people don't really play anymore. B tier. Cavalry, yes, the most gentlemanly type of warfare. In World War I, horses were still widely used, so you could have a horse in combat right next to a tank. In all seriousness, horses are quite fun. You can run people over, jump over several continents, charge into people with your sword, or impale them on a massive stick. They are really open though, so if you have a good sniper or a guy with a shotgun or just an entire squad, you're basically dead. So yeah, there's nothing really much you can do about that either. In the Winter War of 1939, the Soviets attacked the Finns, and it did not go too well for the Soviets. One man that single-handedly killed 400 Soviet troops was Simo Häyhä, a guy that sniped people with iron sights, and somehow racked up 400 kills. Yep, instead of the tree-speaking Vietnamese, the snow spoke Finnish. This tactic is iron sight sniping, basically handicapping yourself and making everything harder, but you get more dopamine after the kill. B tier. Fighters are quite good as they take down bombers and other aeroplanes quite easily. They only have one seat, so you can't have a guy protecting the back of the aeroplane. Useful, but overshadowed by its newer component.
Потому что мы пилот. Небо наш родимый дом. Первым делом самолеты.
Ну а девушки?
А девушки потом.
A truly good weapon, the gas grenade. In World War I, before those pesky little treaties, gas was a widely used weapon in war, and in World War I, it was everywhere. Gas grenades are good as they allow you to get some stray kills by throwing them into choke points, and eventually you'll get a kill or make them so they can only hipfire, meaning that you can run in guns blazing and sometimes are able to take the kill because of their lack of accuracy. They are useful, but also have a non-poisonous variant that I'm about to talk about. Smoke grenades are arguably even more useful. They allow you to push, again, through a choke point without the enemy being able to see you. Then, with a shotgun, you can take them one by surprise and go. B tier. Very funny.
Well, this calls for a celebration.
We're 18 minutes into a Battlefield 1 video and haven't talked about the truly big boys. The tanks. Well, we've talked about one of them. One of the other great mechanized wonders of the Great War was the A7V, or as I like to call it, the Sturmpanzerwagen.
Fuck off.
I don't actually call it that because I'm not a loser. Supposedly. In all seriousness, playing a tank is one of the best or worst decisions you can make. It's definitely fun for a little bit, but as soon as you're spotted, it's practically game over, as everyone in the enemy team will start throwing grenades at you like a horde of locusts, because as we all know, locusts love grenades for some reason, and after that, you're done. A tier.
Full-grown Aussie.
Plane smashing is an art. There are different movements, like the classical and the avant-garde. The classical one is just running into a person on the ground ground, and the avant-garde is running into a plane, which is definitely harder to pull off, but much more rewarding. Basically, you run into a plane or a person / tank on the ground with the speed and ferocity of a cruise missile, except it's manned. A tier.
You are entering the quickfire round.
The AT rocket gun, truly a weapon of all time. It's good for anti-tank and is also very good at completely destroying the torsos of the opposing infantry. Better than the AA one, but definitely has a better variant under the Tank Hunter. Airships are a good behemoth, a very powerful machine of warfare that can be used to change the tide of war or die 10 seconds in after everyone decides to act like an anti-air turret on the opposing team. These things can be death from above or an annoying fly that keeps flying into your face. A tier. Mountain guns are a turret with 2 big cannons that go. They are more useful than the coastal cannon of D tier by quite a bit, as obviously this is an A tier, and also the positioning on the maps is usually way better, but they pretty much act the same. There's also almost no way to actually kill the driver without going into the bunker, which is usually guarded by about 25 people on your team, so you'll usually be fine. A tier. Heavy bomber. Strategic bombing has never been more fun. There is some absolutely unhinged footage of people out there getting like 10 to 15 kills with the Ilya Muromets, but I don't really know. I've never really been able to replicate that myself. It's clear that it is useful and definitely has a use, obviously, but it's definitely, I think it's definite that my monkey brain just doesn't know how to replicate that success. A tier. The most complained about gun in all of Battlefield 1 is probably the SMG-0818, and that's because it absolutely destroys everything in its path. People are also incredibly angry about this weapon all the time on the subreddit for Battlefield 1, and yeah, fair enough, but sometimes it is fun to just completely destroy everyone in a matter of seconds.
1, 2, 3.
The Burton machine gun is definitely one of the best weapons for doing minuscule amounts of trolling. It damages airplanes quite well and leaves many pilots so frustrated when you start using it, so that they specifically target Burton users on the ground. People get so angry, and it's also a very good way of pissing off a very high level pilot. So yeah, good A tier from me.
Well,
The Saint Chamond is definitely a very weird vehicle. It's definitely very awkward to control and feels like you're almost hovering above the ground rather than actually being like on the ground, if that makes any sense. It's incredibly weird to control. However, the 75mm cannon is quite nice, with the gunners having some good solid machine guns too, and also the armor is definitely very, very, very good, so it has a lot of health. So you can't really complain about this one too much. There are definitely better ones, but you know, French tank, it's alright, I guess. Solid A tier. Shotguns are a definite war crime instigator. Now, shotguns can be summed up in one word: efficiency. Why waste an entire mag killing someone when all you need is one shot? The best one is definitely the Remington Model 10A, a weapon that completely kills on maps like Fort de Vaux and Argonne Forest. A tier. The light tank is incredibly fun. It's the most maneuverable, it's quite fast, and has different countermeasures like poison gas and smoke. It only has one driver, but I don't see this as a problem. Also, arguably the best thing about it is that it has a fully rotating turret, meaning that nothing can get away from you. A thing that no other tank in the game has. A tier, but very close to a solid S tier in my opinion. S tier. This is where the greatest tactics come to rest. If real World War I commanders had used these tactics, then the war would have likely been over by Christmas 1914, as originally advertised. To start, we have the Tank Hunter Elite Class kit is supposed to, as the name would suggest, hunt tanks. However, when equipped with the Tankoair M1918, no sane man can be expected to not put a 13.2mm AP round directly through a man's cranium, or anywhere else for that matter. This thing is a one-shot at any distance on any part of the body. The sawn-off shotgun the kit comes with is also very nice close-up. It also makes the user immune to gas while having none of the debuffs of a gas mask, i.e. the massive black outline blocking half the screen. In my opinion, instant S tier.
Why is he so stupid?
And now for something completely different.
The Calibre. It looks similar to how Shaq would hold a Glock, and this gun has the record for the smallest cartridge ever produced at 2.7mm. and it has the same amount of damage as a speck of dust softly landing on your shoulder. So why is this good at S tier? Well, getting a kill with the Calibri is considered the mark of a true warrior, and being killed by one will likely create an existential crisis in your mind as you question how many hours you've wasted on this game while being killed by a gun of this size. IGN proved that you can get a kill with this gun, which marked the first time a game journalist has ever gotten a kill in a multiplayer game. What's more, you can attach explosives to vehicles and then shoot it with the Calibri. This means when an enemy sees what gun killed their tank, they will see this gun and spiral into self-hate. Instant S tier. The Trench Raider. This elite kit was added with the They Shall Not Pass DLC and is based on the real-life Trench Raiders who did the same stuff as you do with this class. Be sneaky, be stealthy, then rush in with a Middle Ages era weapon that is somehow more effective than rifle bullets as it one-shots enemies. He also has a speed boost, meaning that you literally cannot escape him. He's probably on your way to your house right now using his 10% speed boost to barge in through the window. A terrifying but truly deserved S tier. Next up, the Sentry. Yes, I know there's a lot of elite classes in this tier, but what did you expect? They're literally called elite classes. The Sentry elite kit comes with a suit of armor that protects him from most damage at the cost of slower movement. Depending on the map, the Sentry can spawn with one of two guns. The MG0815, which is kind of trash, I already ranked this one, and then the Villa Perosa. The MG is alright, but the Villa Perosa is something else. 2 magazines, a huge rate of fire, high damage. This is probably the best way to get kills as something other than the heavy bomber.
Does she know how to make a grilled cheese?
Next, for our final airborne threat, the Attack Fighter. This thing has a heavy cannon for creating closed casket funerals and bombs to create unidentified human remains. It chews up infantry and remains maneuverable unlike the bombers, and if an enemy is on your tail, just switch seats to the rear gunner and chew them up. With a good pilot, playing as the gunner is a great way to level up all your classes as well. Easy S tier. Next, a non-sanctioned by DICE TM strategy, the Horse Crosshair Glitch. When on the true masculine game mode Hardcore, you can use horses as in any other game mode. It seems a certain Swedish man was a fan of Red Dead Redemption 2 and its Deadeye system while riding horses, but apparently DICE forgot to get rid of the crosshairs for the horse unlike anyone else on Hardcore, so you could just run around with high accuracy, one-shotting people. Expect to get 60 kills each match thanks to this and the health boost that horses get. So do some dark RP at Genghis Khan or something and ride around as king of the server. S tier. The Shah 2C. In real life, the Shah 2C was designed in 1917, but entered service in 1921, 3 years after World War I ended. Only 10 were ever built as well. This didn't stop DICE from including them as a tank behemoth. It has a 75mm main cannon. This was considered big in World War I, despite most tanks today having a minimum 120mm cannon that will punch straight through enemy armor. You don't know fear until your squad has been holding a point for a minute and then you see this monster coming over the hill with multiple turrets. The multiple turrets, which the Shah 2C didn't have, are great mopping up infantry after you've taken a point and giving your friends something to do whilst they complain how mom said it was their turn on the 75mm cannon. S tier. And for our final item, the funny sidecar explosion. Strap some dynamite to a motorcycle, then ride it into enemy tanks. With some clever positioning, you should be able to get a flank on an enemy, or better, get behind them. Then ride the bike or car towards them, leap off, and then detonate the charges. This is a well-known tactic in literally every Battlefield game, and is likely to create some very angry tankers who will friend you on their Steam just so they can message you your house address. S tier. And with that, thanks for watching everyone. This is the end of the video. Like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. Tell me any criticism you have of the video in the comments. That could be editing criticism, flow criticism, you know, just really anything, to be honest. And a big thanks to these people on screen right now: Idle Majima, Your Man Jimbo, Gort of Gortville, and Roro3138 for helping with the video in any way. For example, Your Man Jimbo, he did like the entire script for the end of S tier, and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, thank you to all of those people, great people, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.
Say it to my face.
What did I say?